Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? I hope you are having a very lovely Thursday. I can't believe how fast this year is flying by, and this week too, but I'm coming to you to do my June TBR. Now, this is going to be a split TBR because of two things. So, as you guys know, in a previous video, I talked about the fact that the Reading Women podcast is celebrating their anniversary this month, and they are hosting a read-along to their Reading Women's Challenge, 24 prompts that they put out at the beginning of the year, and I will link them all below, or I'll link the website down below so you can go check it out. And they are hoping to help people in this month read things about women, by women, and get them to read some different stuff that's a little bit outside their comfort zone, and to achieve the challenge as you go along. Now, I haven't been doing the challenge all year, but I have chosen 4 topics from the challenge that I picked books for that I'm going to be reading this month. The reason I'm only doing 4 is because I also know that June is Pride Month, so I wanted to make sure that I had some books that celebrated Pride Month in my TBR as well. So I have 4 books for Pride Month as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the prompt from the Reading Women Challenge, and I'm going to do those 4 books first and talk about those, and then I'm going to talk about the 4 books that I'm reading for Pride Month. So there you go. The first prompt on the Reading Women's Challenge that I am going to be partaking in is a book with a viewpoint character who is an immigrant or a refugee. And for that, I've started Food For Millionaires by Min Jin Lee. Now, I talked about this in my 9 Asian American Women Writers video, and I was actually at Book Expo America, and Min Jin Lee was there, and she was signing copies of her book, and I picked up, because the hardback, if you saw it in my video, is like, it's a tome, but she signed a copy for me, and I have been reading it, and it is fantastic. This is the story of a family, a mother, a father, and their 2 daughters who immigrate from Korea to New York. This is really the story of the oldest daughter, Cassie, who at the beginning of the novel has graduated from Princeton and really doesn't have any direction on what she's going to do now that she's graduated from this Ivy League school. She's been going to school with people that are much more affluent than she is and also live in sort of a different social circle. And she returns home. Her parents own a dry cleaner, and her father and her have a huge fight, and she winds up moving out, and her life sort of takes a lot of turns. And this deals with family. This deals with money, a lot of money, like how to struggle when you're not making money. What are the decisions you make? It has to do a lot with relationships. What's really fantastic about the book is that every time Cassie interacts with a character, we kind of get them interwoven into the story. So it becomes very epic in nature. So it's like this community around her keeps growing, and these people, their stories keep developing. But Cassie is always at the center, and her tale is important to everything. And it is so good so far. I'm super, super enjoying Food For Millionaires by Min Jin Lee. For the topic, a book with a viewpoint character who is an immigrant or a refugee. Okay, so the next book I'm reading is for the topic, a book about someone with a physical or chronic illness. And I'm going to be reading the memoir Sick by Porochista Khakpour. And I know I said that wrong, and I apologize, but I do follow the author on Twitter, and her story is harrowing. The book basically says she's been sick her whole life, and really so much has gone on, but she is late diagnosed with late-stage Lyme disease. Now, Lyme disease is one of those diseases that you really get to that diagnosis after being misdiagnosed for a very long time, and she's chronically ill. And if you follow her on Twitter, you know that she's always dealing with all sorts of things, being in the hospital, expensive medications, expensive treatment. And this is the novel that deals with how her life revolves around that. Now, she's also Iranian American, so I find that will be very interesting, sort of that cultural background along with what she's dealing with. And I've heard nothing but fabulous things about Sick, and I'm super excited to read that. For the prompt, a book about someone with a chronic illness. Okay, the next one is I'm going to be reading a short story collection, which I know. But I am super excited to read Florida by Lauren Groff. Now, this just came out, so I have the advanced reader's copy, but it is out on shelves, and I know that Lauren Groff is traveling around. And all I know about this story collection, other than Lauren Groff is a phenomenal writer and probably will blow my mind, is that all of the stories, in some way, Florida plays a role. And it's different in every story. So I'm super excited about this. I'm going to try really hard to go see her. She is in town, I believe, in a couple weeks. And I'm going to take, I have all of her books, so I'm going to take them all to get signed. So this is the short story collection Florida by Lauren Groff, and I'm going to read it for that topic. And last but not least is a fantasy novel written by a woman of color. And for that, I'm going to finish the Duology by Ji Yang. This is the second book in the series called The Red Threads of Fortune. I don't want to talk too much about it. I know that they're separate, but I did review the first book, which I truly enjoyed when I read it last month. But it's about a weird society. I say weird, but that's not what I mean. It's about a society with different levels, and that is an awful description. Can I start over? Hi, I'm going to be reading Ji Yang's The Red Threads of Fortune. And this book is about a world in which there is a ruling class and a rebellion that's going on. What's really fascinating is that the people that are born are gender non-specific, and until they choose which gender they want to be. The first book was about two twins. I'm refraining from reading what this book is truly about because I don't want to spoil anything about it, but I really enjoyed Ji Yang's first novella, I guess, and I'm super excited to read The Red Threads of Fortune and finish it up and see how everything turns out. And that's for a fantasy novel written by a woman of color. Okay, and now to move on to the Pride books. Now, the first Pride book is actually the book that I'm going to be reading for my Around the World in 1,000 Pages book club, which I hope you guys are all enjoying. I'm going to make an announcement video next week of how the book club is going to change for the last 6 months of the year. But we will be reading Kiss of the Spider Woman by Manuel Puig. This is an Argentinian novel. I think my copy is translated from the Spanish by, hold on, page turn, Thomas Colchi. I got this at my used bookstore. This is the story of two men who are in prison. One man is in prison for being a sodomite, for, I think technically he's in prison for corrupting a minor. I think that's what the term is. But he's in prison for that, and he gets put in a jail cell with a man who is actually a revolutionary. And what it is really the story of their relationship and how the revolutionary winds up using that relationship to his benefit. This is a fantastic movie with Raul Julia and William Hurt. It is a fantastic musical with Chita Rivera plays the Spider-Woman. So there's tons of different things you could do with this if you read it. And I'm super, super excited to finally really read this classic, Kiss of a Spider-Man, a Woman by Manuel Puig. Okay. The next book I have also started already, and that is No One Can Pronounce My Name by Rakesh Satyal. So I've had this book for a while, but for some reason, I will take it as a blessing from up above. The author decided to follow me on Instagram, which I immediately did right back, and he is just adorably cute. And I was like, why haven't I read his book? It's Pride Month. I'm going to need to read his book. So this is the story of a gentleman who, at the start of the book, you find out that his sister has passed away and his mother is not dealing with it well. So he has been dressing up when he gets home as his sister so his mother can sort of not deal with the death. But as the story goes on, you learn a lot about him, who he is, and his friends. The story also has a second major character who is a woman who is in a relationship that's really loveless. It's an arranged marriage. Things have sort of stopped going anywhere. They're just really coexisting. And she is putting all her energy into writing vampire and werewolf, I'm going to call them romance novels. So, and then their lives intertwine, and it's about how that all comes together. So far, totally loving this book. I think the cover is adorable. The writing is super super engaging, and I'm super excited to see what happens with No One Can Pronounce My Name by Rakesh Satyal. And I will say that Matthew Sharapa says that this is one of his favorite books, so if you needed another recommendation, there you go. The next book I'm going to try to read is a lesbian love story called Paulina and Fran by Rachel B. Glaser. Now this is set in a boarding school where two girls meet. One is the quiet one is the sort of outgoing one, and they go on a trip. I can't remember to where. Oh, to Norway, and they're drawn together and relationship ensues. I think the cover is fantastic. I want to say that I randomly heard about this again on, oh, what is her name? I'm totally blanking. But it was mentioned on a channel. I was watching a video the other day and they were talking about how good it was. And I was like, I have that book. Why haven't I read it? So I am back to Paulina and Fran by Rachel B. Glaser. I think this is in English. I want to say that this is not a translated book. Yes, there's no translator noted. So I'm super excited for that. And I love a book that's set in a boarding school or in a boarding school type environment. Do you guys? I really do. Last but not least is a book by Julia Glass. And this is a book called A Home Among the Trees. And this is a fictionalized story regarding, I think loosely based on the life of Maurice Bendeck, who wrote Where the Wild Things Are. But this is the story of a woman who, her employer, who is a children's books artist, passes away. And she has to deal with his estate. And there's a lot going on. He has a lover that comes back. There is a movie that's about to go on about his life, and that actor comes in. And she's also going through the history of the house and the works and stuff like that. I have heard that this is fantastic. And I haven't read anything by Julia Glass other than 3 Junes, so I really need to get to it. A House Among the Trees by Julia Glass. So those are the 8 books that I am planning to read to celebrate Reading Women's anniversary and also Pride Month. Have you guys read any of them? Are you super interested in any of them? Let's talk below. As always, if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope you had a good time. Subscribe. And as always, until next time, happy reading. Bye.